NDC because really they have had cause to complain about the form and structure of the ongoing limited voter registration exercise. George Opare Addo is the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I trust you're well.
We can't complain. God has been merciful.
Great. So the NPP is saying that the issue of additional registration centers, the NPP raised it at IPAC, and should the NDC have participated in IPAC, some of the issues which you're raising now could have been ironed out at that level. This concern raised by the NPP, or this allegation by the NPP, that will this meet your reasons for abstaining or staying out of the IPAC?
But we've been told by Jane Mensah, the Electoral Commissioner, that IPAC cannot advise her on things she needs to do. On many occasions, we've gone for IPAC meetings, we've made suggestions, and Jane Mensah have been bold enough to tell us that there remain suggestions. When we used to attend IPAC under Jane Mensah, anytime we had gone there, whatever we have said, the things she wanted to do were the things she carried on with. So we don't see the need, and we don't see the reason why we still have to go and say that IPAC, when she has told us boldly that IPAC has no mandate and IPAC cannot force her to take decisions that she doesn't want to take. And so we still stick to our ground. If Jane Mensah wants us back at IPAC, then the reforms we have proposed should be adhered to, and then we can go and sit down at IPAC and speak to. I can understand Ivan Makwe and the things he's saying. Clearly, the MPP is just behaving like the ostrich. Evans knows very well that 99% of the time, before IPAC meetings, the position of the NPP has always been the position of the Electoral Commissioner. And Evans knows this for a fact. And so we going to IPAC is neither here nor there, because every suggestion we have put before IPAC under Jane Mensah has been pushed off and have not, or she has not adhered to any of it. So there is no point we going back to IPAC. And I don't know what our going to IPAC is going to do, because the person in question has told you that IPAC has no mandate. IPAC has no constitutional backing. IPAC cannot force her to do what she doesn't want to do. And when the person says this to you, why will we waste your time? To the extent that even when my then General Secretary, Nana Snapsema, attended one IPAC meeting and was smiling, Jane Mensah had the nerve and impetus to ask him why he was smiling. The kind of disrespect and arrogance she exhibits at IPAC meetings, it is not worth going to sit before that lady.
From what you're saying, is it that you're staying out of the IPAC out of an emotional position?
No, the person has told you point blank that over the years, when Jane Mensah was with IEA, she was even advocating that IPAC should be given constitutional backing, so that decisions of IPAC becomes binding on the Electoral Commission. Immediately, the person becomes Electoral Commissioner. She tells you in plain words that decisions of IPAC are not binding on her. Also, we have made a point time with our number that there are some political parties that have no offices, that have no locals to even come sit in IPAC meetings. When we go for IPAC, NDC, that has 137 members of parliament, have one vote. The NDP have one vote. And all the other political parties that do not have any representation in parliament are also given rights to vote. And most of these parties are offsprings or surrogates of the NPP. So they go and team up with the NPP. If I measure with the parties, you even be laughing. Parties with no structures, no offices, nothing. And under our laws, under the Political Parties Act, all those parties should be closed down. But they are given representations and seats at IPAC. And then they all come and vote in decisions that we are trying to arrive at. So at the end of the day, we find ourselves in the minority. Two, the lady in question, the chairperson has told you that your decisions are not binding on me. So you can come and talk. IPAC more or less has become a talk shop. Why go waste your time in a talk shop when you will not get the results you are looking for? When the reforms you seek to achieve will not be attained. Previously, under previous electoral commissioners like Opare Addo and Sabato say, every EI or CI that has been put before Parliament, coming from the Electoral Commission, was drafted by members of the political parties' legal committee, together with technical members from the EC. And that was how IPAC had impacted positively in our results. Almost all the decisions, all the reforms that we saw happened within from 1992 to 2016 before Jane Mensah became Electoral Commission, were actually a result of decisions that IPAC arrived at. Ever since this woman became electoral commissioner, she's told us in plain words that our decisions are not binding, and so we cannot make decisions for her. She does what she wants to do. Why go sit before her then?
So you rather go to court?
Because that is what the Constitution says, that anything or any law that we feel that is inconsistent with the Constitution, the best place to seek redress is the court. If I have no legal mandate to advise you, why come and waste my time in advising you?
We've heard the Member of Parliament for Clotte College, Senator Rollins, raise issue with the financial burden on MPs. The NPP is also accusing you, the NDC, of busing registrants to the registration centres. Is this true? Are you busing prospective registrants from their various locations to the EC's district offices to partake in the exercise?
Do you know what the NPP is best known for? There is a saying in Akan, there is a bird called the Santrophianoma. It goes to the end of the water, muddies it, and comes back to ask you who went to that side of the pond to muddy the waters. That is exactly what the NPP is doing. We have seen videos of the NPP dishing out money. I heard you ask Evans about giving out money to people, and I heard his answer he gave. We've seen videos of the NPP going into communities and giving out money to people who have not turned 18, people who are not on the register to go and register. Have you seen any video of anybody from the NDC busing people? Let me also say this. In every registration process, political parties do get involved. I've seen a video of the leader of what's the name of this man's party? Goom. Going around with a pickup, trying to ferry people from their various locations to the EC headquarters. I come from a town called Kotodwe in the Opare constituency. Before the district electoral office is in Ebru. If I have to leave Kotodwe to get to Ebru, I need a minimum of 30 Ghana cedis to be able to come and register. There is a town called Atremasin in the Opare constituency where the popular car waterfalls is.
Right.
It is beyond Kuforidia. For a young person who has turned 18 and is unemployed, to get to the center in Ebru, he needs a minimum of 90 Ghana cedis, almost 100 Ghana cedis, to be able to travel from Atremasin to Ebru and back. There is a town called Isuta Epred. For you to be able to travel, I'm talking about my constituency, the Opare constituency.
Right.
For you to be able to travel from Isuta Epred to get to Ebru, a young man who has just turned 18 or a young lady who has just turned 18 and is unemployed needs a minimum of 150 Ghana cedis to travel from Isuta Epred all the way to Ebru to come and register. How many people can afford this in this current dispensation we find ourselves in? We all know how bad the economy is. When we used to do registrations, even in electoral areas, political parties had always gotten involved. People who were contesting for assembly elections had always gotten involved by advocating and going around and urging people to go out and register. At best, I know that is what the NDC is doing, together with our members of parliament. And when you're a member of parliament, or when you're a leader from a community, and your community folks reach out to you that registration is being done in the community very far away from where we are, and so we've mobilized ourselves. Can you help us with transportation? I don't think there is nothing wrong with it. But it is because of the recalcitrant nature of the electoral commissioner. That means the electoral commissioner have done what the Constitution requires them to do, have done what the CI that they are using requires them to do, of opening the register or registering people in their various electoral events. I don't believe people would have traveled from far to come and register their names. And then people will not even have the cost to go and put cars in these communities to be able to support people to go and register. We all agree democracy is expensive. But the day we agreed to resort to democracy, we were prepared to fund it. And so I still can't understand why the electoral commissioner will do this and breach the CI that it is supposed to be working. But if you read the CI 96 or so, as amended by CI 126 or so, it states clearly that registration should be done annually. As I speak, in 2021, there was no registration. In 2022, there was no registration. So there is a backlog of 2 years. And then in 2023, you decide to do registration and you decide to limit it and you decide to limit it to your district offices, knowing how remote and how difficult some of our villages and terrains are. In some communities, because of rainfall, they've even been cut off. And so it's extremely difficult getting people to move from one area or the other to come and register. In all this, I blame our courts. Because it is our courts that must uphold our constitution and our laws. And the courts have refused to give the NDC a date before this registration commences. Because I know for a fact that because of what the laws
But there's a hearing scheduled for October.
Exactly. By that time, the questions have been moot. The registration would have been over. That is why I blame the courts. And the courts are doing this deliberately. Because you see, when you deprive people of their rights, in the Fernandez case, registration had ended, but the courts ordered. The days when our courts were courts and people had confidence in them, the court ordered the electoral commissioner to open registration. Because if you read our constitution, the constitution mandates everybody who is 18 years and above and of sound mind to be registered. And so what the EC is doing clearly is to disenfranchise people from registering. And if you understand what politics is, and you're a political researcher, you will know why they've gone that route. They are doing this because it is known, research has proven, that first-time voters are people who likely vote against incumbent governments. And so the less people they have on the register, then they can disenfranchise and then the NPP can achieve what they are seeking to achieve. But I can assure them that the NDC as a party will do everything possible to make sure that everybody who is 18 years and above gets the opportunity to register and find his name on the register. We have history to guide us, and let nobody be deceived. Let Jane Mensah nor the court be deceived that they can't take the people for granted, because it is their right. The same right that guarantees Jane Mensah the office of the Electoral Commission is that same constitution that guarantees every other person who has spent 18 years the right to be registered and be voted and to be given the opportunity to cast his vote in deciding the fate of this country.
Okay, George. Let's leave it here, but thank you so very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
George Opare Addo is the NDC's National Youth Organizer.